All right, guys. So we're going to talk about prospecting. This is literally one of the most important things in your business. Josh and I are super excited to go through this stuff with you guys today. These are things that you always want to revert back to. If you're brand new starting off, if you have been in the business for a while, 6 months, a year, 6 years, however long it's been, you always want to go back to your fundamentals and understand what you need to do to prospect and prospect correctly. So today's not going to be super technical, but we are going to go through a couple different ways, reasons, and why to prospect. So as far as just starting off, what is prospecting? Some people may not know. If you're new, prospecting just means going out and basically meeting people. So sometimes I like to say that prospecting is making new friends, just having a short conversation, getting to know people, and ultimately all of that is going to help you grow your business. So sometimes people put up this barrier of, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to talk to people. I don't know what exactly I'm going to say. What are they going to say to me? How are they going to respond? Are they going to reject me? All of these things. But you just got to think about, hey, I'm just making a new friend. When we recruit somebody, that's literally all it is, because now you're constantly talking to this person. You're not necessarily hanging out because of COVID now, but you're just building a relationship with somebody new. So always just revert back to like when you were in school or when you started a new job. That's really ultimately what prospecting is. You're just building a new relationship with somebody. And so what you used to do, I mean, like I know Josh before, now he's with Willix, which is awesome, but he probably prospected a lot and met a lot of girls. I didn't really do that. I was super shy. I didn't talk to a lot of guys. But when people go out and you meet people, that's what you do. You just get to know people. You build a relationship, and that's really all it is. So you never want to create this barrier of, oh my gosh, I got to talk to new people. It's not a big issue. It's not a big concern. But if you get really good at it, that can develop a major aspect of your business, and everything comes from that. So Josh is going to go into why, which I think is insanely important. All right, so go ahead, Josh.
Yes, thanks. Okay, so it's funny. Shondell said that it's like, hey, we're gonna go over prospecting today, which is super exciting. And I think she did that off automation because like prospecting is not exciting per se, but neither is lifting weights, running, studying, eating right, living right. Like none of those things are particularly fun, but we all enjoy the results that come from them.
That's the exciting part.
That's the exciting part. They don't say that, a soda pop a day keeps the doctors away. They say an apple a day keeps the doctors away. And same thing in business. It doesn't go an hour of television a day keeps the jobs away. It says an hour, really, it's recommended that you put forth 3 hours of prospecting per day keeps the jobs away. But if you think about that, and I'm sidetracking a little bit, but if you think about that, 3 hours of your day geared towards prospecting and 1, 2, 3 hours a day towards doing recruiting appointments and client appointments, that's 4 to 6 hours of work a day. You can make $100,000 a year plus off that. Just off that. And people are working 12-hour shifts on their feet, traveling in traffic to do, and if we can get disciplined, break down, and get focused on the core fundamentals of building any business, which is prospecting, the life of your dreams is on the other side of that. Why do we prospect? It's because it leads to everything else. It leads to, and it's funny, she said prior to me meeting Lelix, I did some prospecting. See, sometimes you got to go through the wrong people to get to the right people. And even when digging for gold, you've got to go through some dirt. And so like, prospecting leads to everything. And case in point, Exhibit A, I met the woman of my dreams via prospecting. Prospecting is nothing more than having a conversation with a purpose tied behind it. And someone goes, oh, they're just looking for something. Everyone has an agenda. Yes, everyone does have an agenda. There's nothing wrong with that, unless their agenda is comes with ill intent. But everyone should have agenda. Otherwise, you're just a kite floating in the air. You're just a leaf in the wind. You have no purpose. And I don't want to spend my time with non-purpose filled people. I don't want that. I need to know what your agenda is, and I need to know it early, because I am serious about my goals, and the people that get on in this life are serious about their goals. So prospecting is having a conversation with a purpose. Now, that purpose may be to grow your church. That purpose may be to find your spouse. That purpose may be to grow a charity of your choice. I recently joined a flag football team, like a league. And we weren't short, but the team we were playing were short on bodies. So it's either get slaughtered by us who were not short on team because they had 2 less people than they needed, or go to some of the other teams that were playing on other fields and pick up people. And that's exactly what they did. And we lost because of it. So how about that? Prospecting leads to a win, for instance. So prospecting leads to literally everything. Example, I guess in business, I'll give a couple variety of examples. But I personally came into this business from a prospect. I went to a birthday dinner, okay? I'm 18 years old. I'm at a birthday dinner with another friend of mine in high school that just turned 18 years old. And I am a very unique individual relative to my age group. I always knew I wanted to run a business. I always knew the money was, that's where the money was. That's where the freedom was. But they don't teach that in school. And my single mother couldn't, who grew up different, she can't teach me how to do that. She didn't know. At this dinner was somebody that was 1 year removed from high school. He's 19, and we get into conversation, which a lot of people do. Like Shondell said, at a new job, you click with people there. In school, you meet your best friends there. You click with people that have common, things in common with you, naturally. And that's what happened at that dinner table. I naturally clicked through a conversation with a purpose. Okay, we were talking about goals, and that's where the commonality came from. And he said at the end of the night, hey, I know this guy, and go figure, he met this guy 1 week before he met me, 7 days. I know this guy, and he's a really prominent businessman, and I'd like for you to meet him. Would you like to meet him? Yes, absolutely. So he said, I'll come pick you up. I didn't even have a car. It was a miracle. He drives from Manassas to Woodbridge to Reston. Turns out that guy was Samir Qureshi. And I don't know who he is. I never met him. All I know is that I wanted to learn, and he knew he had what I wanted. Who prospected the guy that found me? Shondell's dad. Shondell's dad was working in a retail store in Potomac Mills Mall, and the guy that prospected me is no longer here. Think about that. There's an underlying lesson sprinkled in there. How much money is that guy going to lose having let the youngest $1 million earner in history slip through his fingertips because he quit? I don't know. But for the time being, Shondell's family gets to benefit from it. Samir forever gets to benefit from it. And why? Because he found me, and the guy that found me walked into Shondell's store, and Otis just decided to open his mouth and with a purpose start having a conversation with this guy, and said something of the tune to, do you keep your options open? What do you do for work? And we'll go over the how-tos in a second. But he said yes. Now, who found Otis? Shondell, who found Otis?
Yeah, so Dante found Otis. So, and that'll lead to kind of my story as well. So, for example, so Dante is a regional vice president here. And so he was, before regional vice president, was building his business and was prospecting. And so we used to literally prospecting, we just would go out and about all the time. So he went into a retail store. My dad is a retail store manager. He brought up a conversation, was like, hey, you're in management. Do you keep your options open for extra income, things like that? I think he actually talked to him about being a potential client first. And then my dad was like, oh, I don't know, but he was more interested in the money. So then Dante recruited my dad, and then my dad got into the business, then eventually became a client. And then I literally was on my winter break of college, and my dad was like, oh, hey, I just started working with this company. And I was like, I don't know anything about finance. And he told me about it. I came to a meeting, and then I got in the business. And now obviously you guys know where we're at through that whole business. There's us, there's Josh, and all of that came just because Dante opened his mouth up in a retail store and talked to my dad.
Right? And for, that's nuts, because you can prospect for either side. You could prospect to recruit somebody and to join your business, or you can prospect them to become a client. If Dante only spoke to Otis about becoming a client and served him with life insurance and investments, how much of a chain reaction would have been broken if he only spoke to Otis about becoming a client? How many clients do you know just in 8 months through Shondell's business, in 8 months this year? Dante said he definitely spoke about the recruiting opportunity. Good. Do you know in 8 months of this year, through Shondell's leg, we've brought in 130 clients? In 8 months, 130 clients just this year. Think about that. Another example is Tanya Poe. And by the way, through those 130 clients, guys, Samir has earned $60,000 this year in 8 months off of our production.
Right.
Okay, go
ahead.
Good.
I was gonna talk about Tanya Poe. You can talk about Rick Cizzi because I don't know his story.
Yeah. So he's on track to earn $100,000 off of one leg. One. He has other producers as well. From what? somebody that he trained opening their mouths, which led to a massive chain reaction. What would your life be like if you earned $100,000? Just that. He's going to earn more than that in totality, but what would your life look like if you had $100,000 a year in overrides coming in, money made without working because you decided to open your mouth and offer an opportunity?
Right.
Tanya Poe.
Yeah, so Tanya Poe is an unbelievable example. So if you guys look her up on SoundCloud, YouTube, she tells her story all the time. She's a huge leader in Primerica, but how was she found? It was through prospecting. So literally, some guy out in California went to a Target. And so Tanya Poe at the time, she was a probation officer. She used to have a huge real estate business, was making a ton of money. Then literally in a bad situation, I think it was when the whole crash happened, she lost a bunch of money, went into like $1 million of debt through her real estate, and was literally like sobbing all day, went to Target and was in her car on her way to her car, and some random guy in Primerica stopped her and said, "Hey, would you ever keep your options open for extra income or better opportunities for money right now?" And she was like, "Who is this guy? What is he talking about?" Whatever. She literally said she like felt like her mascara was running because she was crying. She had her daughter in her car. She was like, "Who is this guy?" But she was like, "Well, I'm $1 million in debt. Why not? Why not?" And she gave him his number. They talked. She came to the office. She joined the business. She killed it. Right now, she makes $700,000 a year. $700,000 a year. And whoever overrides her, all these people make tons of money because some guy went in a Target parking lot and talked to her and offered her the opportunity. It's unbelievable, guys, what can come from prospecting.
$15,000 a week.
$15,000
a week. That's what that is. Now, what's more impressive is the person that I don't know what's more impressive. The person that, I mean, her story, or the person that's overriding her that's making, $500,000 a year in overrides. $500,000 a year doing nothing. Why? Because somebody wanted to, grow their business. They wanted to offer the opportunity up to somebody else. Rick Susie is a $2 million earner in our company. He holds the record. Well, at one point he held the record for the largest income first year as a regional vice president. and he did it. He got 20 wide in a span of 9 months. 20 wide. Now, we have a whole other YouTube video on what that is, but he did it in 9 months because his regional vice president told him to do that. And he went out and did it. First year out as an RVP, he made $250,000. $250,000 a year. And this is sort of a warm market ordeal. This is actually exactly how Samir was found. Shaq earns $100,000 minimum a year off of Samir's business. That is Shaq's best friend. If you have a friend in this world and you have not spoken to that friend about this business, you something is not working in your mind. You don't see it. Samir's earning $300,000 a year because Shaq opened his mouth, and Shaq's earning $100,000 off of Samir because he opened his mouth. Nobody is losing in this situation. So with Rick Susie, today he's making $2 million a year because his closest friend who he worked with. That's how they met, at a job. He said, come and join me in business. It took him 1 year though, just like it took Shaq 1 year to recruit someone. I have a strong feeling inside of me that I'm going to do the same with my best friend 4 years later as well. But he doesn't know it yet. And a couple folks in my family too. But if you just constantly, like a leaky faucet, drip, 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 constantly bring the opportunity up to folks, because there is truly fortune in the follow-up. Or there's a fortune. Think about that. 14 years of $100,000, $1.4 million a year, in totality, that Shaq has earned off Samir. $1.4 million for opening his mouth consistently. Let's go next. This is why we prospect. And by the way, guys, what we're about to go into, how the different ways to prospect, you don't, so I don't know, I feel as though some people believe they need permission to do that. You are an entrepreneur. The second that you submit your licensing application, your independent business application, IBA, you have just now signed your ability to become independent in your ways. An entrepreneur doesn't need to ask permission to do anything. That's a boss. You are a boss when you're an entrepreneur. So you don't need to ask permission. Can I prospect this way? Should I prospect this way? Should I prospect at this time or that time? We'll go over that, but a boss does whatever they need to do whenever they need to do it to get the result they want. And you are a boss now.
Right. So you can do anything at any time, just like he said. But if you want to ask for suggestions, feel free to do that. We're an open book. You have tons of resources. So I don't want that to get kind of twisted either. You can ask what you can do and what you can't do, because especially when we start talking about social media, there are some things that you can't do as well. So it's good to ask, and it's good to ask for suggestions. Obviously, like Josh is an amazing prospector. So myself and a lot of great recruiters within the hierarchy, they're amazing at prospecting. So if you want tips, definitely ask, but you can do it whenever you want, however you want, be creative in those aspects. So your warm market, that's probably the first place to start. What is your warm market? Your warm market is anybody that you know their name and anybody that they know you by name. That could literally be unlimited. It could be high school, jobs, college, friends of friends, people you met at a party, they know your name, family, friends, any family together, and then their in-laws, so on and so forth. All of those people, anybody that knows you by name is your warm market. So when we start off, when you guys get into business and you start, we play games with you guys to help you guys figure out what your warm market is, right? It's called 4-minute name game. So that kind of helps you broaden your horizons, because some people say, oh, I don't know anybody. No, you definitely know people, and people know you. So anybody like that is your warm market. And so when you start off and you reach out to your warm market, first off, we do utilize the 3-way text message for that. So I guess that's for the next step, my bad. So for your warm market, when you reach out to people, you just let people know what you're doing. So for example, if I was talking to a friend of mine, hey, I just started working with a new company, and they're expanding and looking for people. I'm really excited about it. I just want to get your opinion. Would you be open to talking to my coach or mentor? Or would you be open to listening to a webinar so I can get your opinion about it? You may know other people that can benefit, right? So a lot of times some people use the direct approach. Hey, I think you would be great at this. It's a great opportunity. I would love to offer it to you. It's based on these certain scenarios, whether it's COVID related, you complain about your job all the time. just offer the opportunity directly or indirectly. Sometimes the indirect approach can work. It's reverse psychology. Hey, I don't know if this is going to even be for you, but I just want you to check it out because I am looking for people, or I just started working with this firm and they're looking for people. So it's just offering the opportunity to the people that you know. And you can say it in many different ways. We have a lot of new people that are reaching out to people in ways that I haven't even thought about yet. But all you have to do is just open your mouth and offer the opportunity. So that's your warm market. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Josh.
Yes, there's an audio on SoundCloud called Pack Your Lunch by Brett Burks. Okay, go listen to this audio. Pack Your Lunch by Brett Burks. Go listen to that. I'll leave it at that.
All right, cool. So new recruits warm market. So I'll go over that, and then Josh will talk a little bit about social media, and I'll wrap up from there, and then I'll have Josh talk about face-to-face, and then I'll talk about Steam calls. So new recruits warm market. So if you are bringing in a new recruit, the reason why you hire people is for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only: to find new leaders and more places to go. So the most important meeting to